At 2 a.m. on I-80 in Nebraska, the steering wheel is vibrating under his numb fingers, cold enough to feel almost alive. The truck is tilted in a ditch, sleet ticking against the windshield, and the real danger is not only outside the cab. It is the voice inside him saying, "You did this." That voice can shrink a man faster than weather can. It can turn a steel cab into a coffin, a mistake into a verdict, a breath into something he has to fight for. And maybe you know that feeling. Not the highway. Not the sleet. But the moment when life slides sideways and your mind starts blaming you before you can even think clearly. What do you do when panic wants the wheel? The truck driver cannot undo the slide. He cannot muscle the storm into mercy. His only battlefield, for the next few minutes, is smaller than the road. It is his breath, his hands, the cold circle of the steering wheel, and the decision not to let fear become the driver. Samurai discipline will not remove the storm. It teaches you how to remain inside yourself while the storm is still speaking. The truck driver sits there with both hands still on the steering wheel, even though the truck is no longer moving. That is the strange thing about shock. The body keeps holding the last command, long after the road has taken it away. His fingers are curled around the wheel like he can still correct the angle, still pull the trailer back onto the interstate, still undo the second when the tires lost their grip and the whole rig began to slide. Outside, I-80 is a pale strip of ice and emergency lights far in the distance. Somewhere above the cab, sleet taps and scrapes against the metal. The windshield has a gray film over it. The ditch has swallowed half the view. The cab leans just enough to make his stomach keep checking the tilt, checking the floor, checking the walls, checking how close everything feels. He has driven through bad weather before. He has crossed states half awake, half frozen, coffee cooling in the cup holder, mile markers passing like numbers on a prison wall. He knows wind. He knows black ice. He knows the uneasy silence of a highway at night when every other driver has either pulled off or made the same bad decision to keep going. But knowing a thing does not make you immune to it. A man can have 20 years behind the wheel and still become one shaking breath when the truck stops where it should not be. Experience does not erase fear. It only gives fear something heavier to argue with. And right now, fear is loud. It starts with the accident itself. The mind grabs the event and tries to prosecute it before the facts are even clear. Too fast. Too tired. Should have pulled over. Should have seen the shine on the pavement. Should have felt the trailer shift sooner. Should have known better. That last one cuts deepest. Should have known better. For a truck driver, that is not just a thought. That is an attack on identity. He is not sitting in some random car after a bad turn. He is sitting in the place where he earns his living, where his skill is supposed to mean something, where his hands are supposed to understand weight, speed, weather, distance, and consequence. The steering wheel under his palms is not only a tool. It is a witness. It has felt every lane correction he ever made in the dark. It has felt his grip tighten near construction zones, loosen on empty stretches, tap once when a song came on that reminded him of home. It has carried his competence for so many years that now, in the ditch, it feels like it is accusing him too. The cold vibration moves through his numb fingers. The heater is working, but not enough to quiet the chill. The cab smells like wet rubber, old coffee, and that faint electrical warmth from the dashboard. The hazard lights blink against the sleet, red and amber pulses washing over the inside of the windshield. Each flash gives him the same information and no comfort. Still here. Still tilted. Still trapped. Then comes the smaller room inside the room. Claustrophobia does not always arrive as a scream. Sometimes it arrives as awareness. Too much awareness. The roof is too close. The sleeper berth behind him is too dark. The windshield is not a window anymore, it is a wall with weather on the other side. His chest tightens, and because his chest tightens, he starts paying attention to his breathing. Because he pays attention to his breathing, the breathing gets worse. That is how panic builds its cage. It makes the body watch itself failing. He shifts in the seat, and the seat belt rubs hard across his jacket. His boot slips slightly on the floor mat, and that small useless movement makes anger rise. Not clean anger. Not the kind that can do anything. The trapped kind. The kind that needs someone to blame, and when there is no one else in the cab, it turns inward. He thinks about the dispatcher. The company. The load. The delay. The report that will have to be written. The insurance questions. The faces of people who will pretend not to judge while judging. He sees the scene before it happens, standing in fluorescent light somewhere, trying to explain ice to people who were not there at 2 a.m. in Nebraska when the road looked black and solid until it stopped being either. His jaw tightens. He wants to defend himself against people who are not even speaking yet. That is one way the mind abandons the present. It leaves the actual danger and starts fighting imaginary courtrooms. It takes the body out of the cab and drags it into tomorrow's shame, next week's paperwork, some future conversation where he has to prove he is not careless, not weak, not the kind of man who loses control. But the truck does not care about tomorrow's argument. The ditch does not care about his pride. The storm is not impressed by self-blame. Fudoshin, in a moment like this, is not a calm personality. It is not pretending the accident does not matter. It is the discipline of refusing to let the first violent story in your head become the commander of your next move. Because the first story is almost always brutal. It says, "You failed." Then the body answers as if that sentence is a physical threat. Breath shortens. Vision narrows. Hands overgrip. Shoulders climb toward the ears. The neck gets stiff. The brain starts scanning for escape, not for clarity. In that condition, even the smallest sound becomes hostile. The sleet, the creak of the cab, the engine idle, the faint rattle somewhere behind the dashboard. A man trapped in a ditch does not only need to be rescued from the weather. He needs to be rescued from the part of himself that thinks punishment will create control. That is the ugly trick of self-blame. It feels responsible. It sounds mature. It says, if I beat myself hard enough, I will become safe again. But blame is not the same as accountability. Blame spins in circles. Accountability looks for the next clean action. In the cab, that difference matters. A panicked reaction wants to rip at the moment. It wants to curse, punch the wheel, replay the slide, imagine the worst, call himself names, crowd the mind with noise until the cab feels even smaller. It mistakes intensity for usefulness. A disciplined response does not need to be dramatic. It may look almost unimpressive from the outside. A driver sitting still. A hand loosening by 1 inch. A breath taken through the nose because the mouth is starting to gasp. Eyes moving slowly across the dashboard instead of darting. The head turning, not snapping. The mind returning from the courtroom of shame to the physical facts of the cab. The steering wheel is still cold. The fingers are still numb. The sleet is still falling. But these are facts, not verdicts. And in disaster, facts are merciful. They are smaller than imagination. They have edges. They can be touched, named, checked, answered. Shame has no edge. Panic has no edge. They expand until they fill every inch of the room. The truck driver's greatest enemy in this first confrontation is not the storm outside. It is the collapse of command inside. It is the moment where a human being begins to confuse feeling guilty with being useful, feeling afraid with being doomed, feeling trapped with having no choices left at all. The cab presses in. The weather keeps tapping at the glass. His hands remain on the steering wheel, but something has to change in the way he holds it. Not because the wheel can pull the truck out of the ditch. It cannot. Not because one breath will turn sleet into clear road. It will not. But because the same hands that held the wheel during the slide must now learn a different command. Not correction. Composure. The road has already taken the first decision from him. The next one still belongs to him. Training begins before he feels calm. It begins while his hands are still cold on the steering wheel, while the cab is still tilted, while the mind is still trying to turn one slide on an icy highway into a sentence about who he is. He does not get to wait for peace. At 2 a.m. in a Nebraska ice storm, peace is not coming first. The sleet will not stop because he needs a cleaner moment. The ditch will not flatten itself out because he is ashamed. The walls of the cab will not move farther away because his chest wants more room. So he starts smaller. He notices the grip. His hands are locked so hard around the steering wheel that his knuckles ache beneath the numbness. He does not rip them away. He does not make a big speech to himself about courage. He just loosens one finger. Then another. The wheel is still cold. The vibration is still there. But now he can feel the difference between holding on and clinging. That difference matters. Clinging says, I have already lost command. Holding says, I am still here. He lets his shoulders drop half an inch. Not because he feels strong. Because his shoulders being up by his ears will not help the situation. He pushes one slow breath out through his mouth, longer than the inhale, and the sound of it fogs the air in front of him. The breath shakes. Fine. It can shake and still be obeyed. That is the first lesson inside the cab. The breath does not have to be perfect to become useful. He takes another one. Then he does something almost embarrassingly plain. He names what is real. Steering wheel. Dashboard. Seat belt. Windshield. Sleet. Ditch. His mind wants the bigger words. Accident. Failure. Report. Judgment. Consequences. But those words are too large right now. They have no handle on them. So he returns to objects. The cold circle under his palms. The amber blink of the hazard lights. The wet gray smear of weather beyond the glass. The pressure of the belt across his jacket. Every named fact gives the mind a wall it can lean against. The claustrophobia tries to pull him back. It whispers that the cab is too small, that the air is running out, that he has to move now, do something now, escape now. His left hand twitches toward the door handle. He stops it. Not forever. Just for one breath. That pause is not weakness. That pause may be the first disciplined act of the night. He does not let panic choose the next movement. He looks at the door. He looks at the angle of the truck. He looks at the sleet striking the side window. He does not turn fear into an order. Instead, he plants both boots flat on the floor mat. The floor is tilted. His body hates that. The tilt keeps telling his stomach that the world is wrong. So he presses down through his heels and lets the pressure travel up his legs. There is still a road somewhere above him. There is still ice under the tires. There is still a ditch beneath the cab. But inside his body, there is a point of contact. Boots on the floor. Hands on the wheel. Breath moving out. That is enough to begin the next action. He checks himself before he checks the truck. Not dramatically. He moves his jaw. Rolls his fingers. Turns his head slowly. Feels for pain without hunting for disaster. He does not invent an injury with imagination. He does not deny anything either. He gathers facts because facts are the language of command. Then he checks the cab. The engine sound. The dashboard lights. The phone. The radio. The hazard switch. The smell. No smoke. No sharp chemical stink. No sudden heat where there should not be heat. He does not solve the whole night. He sorts the next minute. That is how Fudoshin works in a natural disaster. It does not ask the storm for permission to be steady. It breaks the chaos into pieces small enough for a human being to hold. He reaches for communication, not confession. This matters more than it seems. The self-blaming mind wants to call someone and immediately bleed shame into the line. I messed up. I should have pulled over. I don't know how I let this happen. It wants to offer its own punishment before anyone else can judge it. But punishment is not the report. He presses the button, or picks up the phone, or gets on the radio, and keeps his voice close to the ground. Location. Condition. Truck in ditch. Driver conscious. Weather active. Need assistance. He may have to say it twice because his mouth is dry. He may have to pause because the signal cuts. He may hear his own voice trembling and hate it. But a trembling voice can still deliver clear information. A scared man can still be accurate. That is command. Not the absence of fear. Accuracy under fear. After the call, the cab gets quiet in a worse way. There is something brutal about waiting after you have done the right thing. The mind asks, now what? And if no answer comes fast enough, it tries to reopen the case against him. The slide returns in pieces. The tires losing bite. The trailer moving wrong. The sick drop in his stomach. The second he knew the truck was no longer fully his. His thumb rubs the worn texture of the steering wheel. That will has become the whole lesson now. Earlier, it was the thing he tried to use to correct the truck. Then it became the thing his shame accused through. Now it becomes the object that brings him back. He does not grip it like a man trying to reverse time. He rests his palms on it like a man taking attendance. I am here. The truck is here. The storm is here. The next breath is here. He lets each exhale land lower in the body. He counts only if counting helps. If counting starts to feel like another way to panic, he drops it and returns to pressure, palms on the wheel, boots on the mat, spine against the seat. The body is not a prison. The body is the first command post. A gust of wind rocks the cab slightly. His chest tightens again. The training does not fail because fear comes back. That is where most people misunderstand discipline. They think if they were truly disciplined, they would only need to win once. One breath, one decision, one clean moment, and the storm inside would stay handled. But the mind in fear does not surrender that neatly. It circles. It tests the door. It repeats the old accusation in a new voice. You should have known better. He answers it differently now. Maybe. Later. Not now. Those three words are not denial. They are timing. There will be a time for the report. A time for accountability. A time to examine the decision to keep driving, the speed, the weather, the fatigue, the judgment. A disciplined man does not run from that. But he does not conduct the trial while still trapped in the wreckage. Right now, his duty is narrower. Stay oriented. Stay reachable. Stay warm enough. Stay clear enough to respond. He adjusts what he can safely adjust. The vents. The collar of his jacket. The phone position. The light. He avoids sudden moves that serve panic more than safety. When his thoughts surge, he returns to a physical task small enough to complete. Wipe the condensation from the inside of the glass. Check the signal. Listen for the engine. Look for approaching lights without imagining them into rescue before they arrive. The ritual repeats. Hand. Breath. Fact. Next action. Not as a checklist. As survival for the mind. The cold steering wheel keeps vibrating under his fingers, but the vibration no longer means only fear. It becomes feedback. Proof that he is still connected to the present. Proof that even here, in a tilted cab off an icy interstate, command can be rebuilt one contact point at a time. He cannot pull the truck back onto I-80 with his breath. But he can keep panic from taking the wheel again. The storm does not reward him for calming down. That is important. The sleet keeps striking the windshield in hard little bursts. The ditch still holds the truck at an angle that makes every minute feel longer than it should. The highway above him is still a black ribbon with occasional headlights sliding past, too far away to touch, too fast to belong to him. Nothing outside the cab has become gentle. But something inside the cab has stopped spreading. The fear is still there. It sits in his chest like a fist that is not fully opened. The shame is still there too, waiting for any quiet second to start talking again. He can still see the trailer drifting. He can still feel the sick drop in his stomach when the tires lost traction. He still hates the thought of making that call to the company, still hates the report, still hates the imagined silence on the other end of the line. He has not become fearless. He has become usable. That is the real turn. A few minutes ago, the steering wheel was an accusation under his hands. Every vibration seemed to say he had failed at the one thing he was supposed to master. Now his palms rest on the worn rim with less force. Not loose. Not careless. Just no longer desperate. The wheel is not a judge anymore. It is a point of contact. Cold rubber. Numb fingers. Breath moving. A man still here. He looks through the windshield again, and this time he does not look like he is trying to escape through the glass. He looks to gather information. The sleet is heavier near the shoulder. The hazard lights are still working. The phone has enough battery. The cab is cold but manageable. Rescue has been contacted. He has done the next correct things, and for now, the next correct thing is to remain clear. That sounds small until life has taken away every larger option. There are moments when discipline looks like action. A hard lift. A clean decision. A word spoken with control. But there are other moments when discipline looks like not adding damage. Not making the emergency bigger because your pride needs somewhere to throw its pain. Not punishing yourself so loudly inside your own head that you cannot hear what the situation is asking from you. The truck creaks once in the wind. His body reacts before his mind does. The chest tightens. The throat closes slightly. His left hand grips harder, and for half a second he is back inside the old loop. Too small. Too trapped. Too late. Then he catches it. Not with drama. With practice. He looks down at his hand. He sees the grip. He loosens it. One finger, then the thumb. He exhales through his nose this time, slow enough that the breath almost disappears into the engine's idle. The fear does not vanish. It loses the steering wheel. That is enough. Fudoshin is not a frozen mind. It is a mind that can be hit and still return to shape. Like a post in hard wind, not because it feels nothing, but because it is driven deep enough into the ground. For him, the ground is simple now. Boots on the floor mat. Back against the seat. Hands on the wheel. Eyes on what is real. The old self-blame tries to sound responsible again. It comes dressed as professionalism, as toughness, as the hard voice a man uses when he thinks mercy will make him weak. You should have pulled over. Maybe he should have. You almost ruined everything. Maybe the night will have consequences. You do not deserve to be calm. That one is the lie. Calm is not a prize for people who made no mistakes. Calm is a tool for people who still have duties after a mistake. If he must answer for what happened, he will answer better with a mind that can stand up straight. If he must learn from the accident, He will learn more clearly without turning the cab into a punishment chamber. Shame may demand the microphone, but it does not get command of the vehicle anymore. He reaches for the radio again when he hears a voice break through. Static first. Then fragments. He answers with the information he has. Short sentences. Location. Condition. Waiting. Conscious. No fire. No immediate danger inside the cab that he can see. His voice is rough. It is also steady enough, and that steadiness changes the size of the cab. The walls do not move. The roof does not rise. But the room no longer feels made entirely of panic. There is space now between the thought and the reaction. Space between the cold and the story. Space between the mistake and the man. That space is where command lives. Outside, headlights appear slower than the others. Amber light bends through the sleet. Maybe it is help. Maybe it is only another vehicle crawling along the shoulder. He does not let hope jerk him forward. He watches. He breathes. He waits without abandoning himself. Earlier in the night, he had held the steering wheel like a man trying to reverse time. Now he holds it like a man making a quiet promise to the present. He cannot change the slide. He cannot erase the ditch. He cannot guarantee what anyone will say when morning comes. But he can decide how he meets the next minute. And then the next. And then the next. That is the transformation no camera would know how to film from the outside. A truck still tilted in a Nebraska ditch. A driver still cold. Sleet still scratching the glass at 2 a.m. Nothing cinematic enough for a clean victory. But inside, the old order has been replaced. Self-blame no longer gets to pretend it is leadership. Claustrophobia no longer gets to turn every breath into an emergency. Fear can enter the cab. It can speak. It can make the hands shake and the stomach drop and the eyes search the dark for rescue. It just does not get the wheel. The steering wheel vibrates under his fingers, not as proof of failure now, but as proof of contact. He is not out of the storm. He is not above it. He is inside it, awake enough to remain responsible. A disciplined man does not need the road to be clear before he becomes steady. Most people will never sit in a jackknife truck off I-80 at 2 a.m., listening to sleet scratch the windshield while their fingers go numb on the steering wheel. But almost everyone knows the smaller version. The late-night kitchen after a mistake you cannot undo. The office bathroom where you try to breathe before walking back into the room. The driver's seat of your own car after bad news, when the world outside keeps moving and your mind starts building a prison out of blame. Your battlefield may not have hazard lights blinking against ice. It may be a debt conversation, a hard apology, a failure at work, a family responsibility you did not feel ready to carry. But the test is similar. Something happens. The mind rushes to accuse. The body tightens. The room feels smaller. Panic reaches for the wheel. In that moment, do not try to become a different person. Find the steering wheel in your own life. The edge of the sink. The phone in your hand. The desk under your palms. The breath you can still lengthen by 1 second. Touch what is real before the story of failure becomes louder than the facts. Then choose the next clean action. Not the whole future. Not the whole explanation. Just the next minute you can meet with command. If this kind of discipline speaks to you, stay with this channel. We train for the moments when no one can rescue us from our own reaction. Fear can enter the cab. It can speak. It just does not get the wheel.